So I went back and forth on if I was even going to do this review or not, but I honestly got so many requests to do it from people who are like, Jason, I know that you're sick of the Star Wars fandom. I know you think it's fucking toxic, but screw the people in the comments. Screw everyone. We want to hear your thoughts. So this actually was requested by a lot of people. So for anyone who thinks like, oh, Jason shouldn't be doing, I don't care about any of that shit. Like, don't press play on something you don't want to watch. It's so silly to me. People come in and be like, you're not talking about horror. Okay, why'd you click on it? Anyways, moving on. So Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, a film that I wasn't all that nervous about until I started reading just thread after thread after thread after review after this or that or blah, 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 because I'm an obsessive lunatic with this franchise. And I was like, oh no, because they were saying, and I think that this is important to get out of the way because of how divisive the film is. I am a huge Last Jedi lover. I love the movie, and I know that instantly, like, the half of the people who are watching right now just left, clicked dislike, and moved on with their life, and that's fine. They can go find the video that agrees with them that Last Jedi is shit, that Disney's ruining Star Wars, whatever. That's your thing. I'm not here to, fight about that anymore. I don't care to fight about Star Wars. It's silly to me. Star Wars has become a religion. It's been one for a long time, and with religion comes different interpretations, and when those interpretations aren't, imagine trying to write a sequel to, the New Testament. I mean, I guess the Mormons kind of did that. I don't want to get too religious here, but look at the chaos that happens. I mean, look how many different interpretations of the Bible there are. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's Star Wars, essentially. Like, it's just people are like dead set. Nope, that's the way. This is what that meant. This is what that scene meant. And any addition to the franchise is going to spark like, oh my God, that's not what the original intention was. And it's like, the only person who knows that is George Lucas. So anyways, that all being said, let's talk about Star Wars, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, a film that, of course, was my most anticipated film of 2019. And I had read a lot of reviews saying that people who were big fans of The Last Jedi, like myself, were going to hate this movie because it outright disregarded it and it spit on it and it's like a total apology letter and this and that. And while I will agree that this film is apology letter isn't what I would use, but I would say that it's a film that's trying to mend the audience. Like, it's trying to mend the wounds that were inflicted on the franchise by a film like The Last Jedi that was divisive, took risks, and did not work for probably half of the audience. I don't know what that number actually is. And so with this film, they had the task of like, all right, you need to close out a trilogy with two films that are really pretty different from one another. You have to try to reunite the fan base. I could go through the whole list of so many things that JJ and Chris Terrio and all these people were tasked with. It was an impossible feat. And in my opinion, I think they did a really damn good job with what they were up against. Realistically, I mean, this film was doomed from the beginning. When it came to the fan base, when it came to the reaction to The Last Jedi with not really having a plan in place for the trilogy as a whole, that was their biggest mistake. They should have sat down and fleshed out an entire trilogy. The entire arc, had it all planned, then nothing anyone could say could have really changed much of the plan. If some character was liked more, they maybe could have given them more screen time or something, but as far as just kind of the story was going, they clearly had no plan. They clearly had no plan in mind. And for them to come out and say, oh, Emperor Palpatine was a plan all along, that's a lie. That's just a lie. They didn't know what they were doing with it. But that all being said, I still really enjoyed everything I got. Like, I'm just happy that I got what I got. Do I think that if this franchise was done differently, this whole trilogy was done differently, would we have gotten better films out of it? I mean, I guess in an alternate universe where they did a completely different thing. I don't know. I mean, that's impossible to say. All I can say is what I've seen, what I got, I liked, I have or loved. I mean, there's nothing in this Disney era of Star Wars I haven't enjoyed. Star Wars Resistance, I'm not a huge fan of. That's like the only thing that really hasn't worked for me much. But The Mandalorian's amazing. Rebels was fantastic. Loved or really enjoyed all 5 films. I read all the canon and all that stuff. All that stuff has been very enjoyable for me to varying degrees. So for me, I'm a Disney era fan, and this is just yet another really impressive film with what they kind of had to deal with. JJ, I mean, I can't even imagine being brought in with the toxicity of the fan base and just being like, well, shit. Like, what do these people want? And here's kind of what's funny. At first, I was a little annoyed about this, having read the response of the movie. And then, of course, after having seen it now, I was a little frustrated because it seemed like when I was reading the whole, like, oh, they completely ditched The Last Jedi and it's just a sequel to The Force Awakens, I disagree. I feel like this film very much incorporates The Last Jedi into it. Is there things that they don't, expand upon that were set up in The Last Jedi? Sure. Were there things set up in The Force Awakens The Last Jedi didn't expand upon? Yes. So that's, for me, I feel like this played off of the Last Jedi as much as The Last Jedi played off The Force Awakens. Like, half of it did, half of it didn't. And that was fine for me. I was really scared that they were just not going to mention any events that took place in Episode 8 at all. And that just wasn't the case. There was plenty of moments where I was like, that's involved with The Last Jedi. That's involved with that's straight from The Last Jedi. This moment, this is all Last Jedi stuff. So because there's decisions made that I guess you could take as, oh, well, these take away from some of the core story beats of what The Last Jedi was kind of trying to say, I didn't mind them. I felt like because of the way they were explained, and let me tell you, man, this film is frantically paced. This is like, at bare minimum, 2 movies in one. Like, this is almost a whole trilogy in one film. There is so much packed into this film that I cannot imagine anyone being bored. I've seen people saying they were bored, and I'm like, how? This thing's a mile a minute. It is so fast paced. That first 30 minutes, man, you're going to be having anxiety. It's just like, whoa, what, oh, what's going on? Oh. And as a canon lore junkie, I was like, oh, holy shit. Oh, whoa, wow. Okay, that's different. This has changed. This is new. This is added. This is addressed. And that's another thing. There's a lot of like, this movie is pure fan service. Now, some people may look at that as a complete negative. I look at it as a necessary evil, if you will. Like, for me, it's one of those things where their back was against a wall. Last Jedi was extremely divisive. And Solo bombed because of it. You had this movie coming out, and they have multiple films they want to make. They have all sorts of series that they have in works. They have the Clone Wars coming out after The Mandalorian, which is amazing. If you're not watching The Mandalorian, you're out of your mind. Even if you don't like Disney era Star Wars, you should be watching The Mandalorian. It's fantastic, especially this last episode. Holy shit. But they got the Clone Wars revival of season 7 there. We've got the Obi-Wan series, of course, coming from Deborah Chow, and then you've got the Cassian Andor series, and then you've got the movies that they have down the road, maybe in 3 years from now. So they have a lot of things they want to get off the ground. And so with this film, they were like, we need to try to mend the fan base. We really have got to try to give them what they want. And this film is pure fan service. This is like Go to a Reddit thread, go to 100 Reddit threads, the most popular ones, and pretty much they do most of what was asked of them to do. Like everything, people were like, oh, I wanted this to be addressed, and I wanted this, and what's this, and this and that. They really did. They really went in and just were like, okay, we're going to give everybody what they want. And what I found kind of frustrating about that, I think I kind of lost my train of thought there, but what I found frustrating about that when I was reading about if you don't like The Last Jedi, or if you like The Last Jedi, you're not going to like this. What I was kind of annoyed about with that is like, so you're going to alienate the half of the fans that you have left to appease all the fans who've left? That's an interesting move. Why would you do that? We're the fan base that's still here, so you're just going to give the middle finger to us? But as I said, that's not how I felt. Now, there will be people who disagree with me on this. This is Star Wars. Come on, any opinion is going to be scrutinized, is going to have the middle finger put up at it, is going to be just outright denied, yelled at, whatever. And I'm sure there's people yelling at the screen right now. I don't care. This is my opinion. You don't like it, move on. But yeah, like, this film, it just relies so heavily on trying to give everybody what they want. And I feel like they balance things pretty well. And while the story can be convenient and, you know, certain plot points can be like, all right, we're there now and this is what we're doing. Okay, like we have to get this along. Like we got to go get this thing and this is why, and this is what it's going to do for this, and this is why we're going here, and this is the thing we need. And it all does seem very convenient at times. There was one specific moment in the movie, one specific item that they found, and I was like, that's convenient. Wow, okay. There's some plot threads that are kind of unexplored in the movie. Like they set up so much that I was looking, after I came out of the movie, I was like, did this ever get addressed? Because it didn't. And unless I missed it, and people were like, yeah, that just was thrown away. I was like, oh wow, okay, that was actually kind of, they spent a good amount of time talking about this one thing here, and then it never happened. And I was like, that's interesting. But yeah, I feel like all the people who are upset about this, and this not happening, every one of them is gonna get their moment. Like every fucking one of them is gonna get their moment in this movie. But the way it's handled, it's such a good looking movie. Fuck, man. The first 20 minutes, I was like, wow, this might be the best looking Star Wars film. Like, it is gorgeous to look at. The action set pieces are gigantic. Like, it's gotta be the biggest Star Wars movie. There's just so much going on here. This isn't a spoiler because he's on the poster, he's in the freaking, he's in the trailer, Emperor Palpatine. Is he explained on how he's back or in what capacity he's back and all that? Not at all. But the film is already so jam-packed, it's so crammed, it's so trying to give a story to a film. I mean, when you really look at The Last Jedi kind of ends with well, what now? Like, a lot of shit's wrapped up. Like, what now? Holy hell. You only have one movie to explore, to build and then end on? That's going to be tough. And with the fan base reaction to it, I don't envy the people who had to make this movie at all. I don't envy them. And as I said, I think they did a damn good job. There's going to be a lot of people who hate this movie. There's people who already hate this movie and haven't even seen it. There's people who are just going online and reading plot leaks and whatever and being like, that sucks, this movie sucks, fuck Disney, this and that. Those people you're never going to please. I don't care about those people at all. If you're one of those kinds of people, I don't know. To me, you're not real. I shouldn't say you're not a real Star Wars fan because that's wrong. But I just think it's time to bow out of the franchise. If you're in that place where you're just like, Disney has killed fucking Star Wars, then it's dead to you. And it's just time to move on. And that's sad. It's a bummer. I think you should be watching The Mandalorian. Like, that shit is as Star Wars as it gets. And if you don't agree with that, then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But with this franchise, this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one because I think that this is going to be a film, this franchise especially, but like this film and The Last Jedi are going to be discussed in film schools for years to come. Like, this is a different era of filmmaking. Never have we been in a time where fan backlash has affected a franchise so much like this because they have so much money invested. A lot of people would have just pulled the plug and been like, well, it didn't work. I mean, you look at the Golden Compass or Chronicles of Narnia or something like that. Like, when they stopped making money or when they were not very well received or, you know, whatever, there was sequels planned and they just didn't do them because they were like, all right, we're done. But with the Star Wars franchise, they spent over $4 billion on the franchise. They built a theme park. They have they have a plan for the future and it has to pay off for them. And they want to continue to keep making the product. And so they kind of got to keep pushing forward, and they're pushing against so much adversity, so much, hatred that, yeah, you kind of have to pander. Like, you're kind of stuck in that situation where it's, even as an artist, you have to stand back and be like, well, and I think that's kind of why they went to JJ. Like, they were just like, look, you started this and we need you to come in and work with us on this. And he stepped in and he stepped up to bat, and they fired Colin Trevorrow, and they were just like, look, we need a safe play here. We've got to make a safe play on this. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking way too much behind the scenes stuff. The film itself, Kylo and Rey, awesome. Everything with them for me is awesome. I loved pretty much everything that they did in the movie. There was so much Star Wars to love in this movie. The other characters are a little more secondary, but we do get our main three, our Poe, our Finn, and our Rey, and they're together for the majority of the film. So you got the team up, you got the adventure film. It feels almost like a Indiana Jones adventure film at times, and man, there's a lot of spectacle to be had here. There's a lot of big action sequences, of course, emotional beats. There's lots of nostalgia. There's surprise cameos, things that I was not expecting. This film definitely surprised me. I will say that. It does play it safe. And so there's a lot of predictable things. There's a lot of things where like, oh, they're going to go this way, they're going to go that way. But then there's other things where I was like, okay, that wasn't expecting that at all. So it takes risks and it plays it safe. It panders to fans who hated it, but it also tries to please fans who are really happy with it. Like, it is the most middle ground film it can be. But I feel like that was the smart play. And but at the same time, I mean, it's getting so much hate, and I feel like it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. We'll see what it does overall. I'm really curious to see the next couple months. I'm really, really curious about it. Like, yes, it's getting a lot of hate up front, but a lot of times when a movie gets a lot of hate up front, that can actually work to a film's benefit, because then it gets people's expectations down low. And this film is objective. Film is subjective. And so I feel like arguing the merits of the filmmaking and all that, like, people are like, oh, Disney, like, you can't say these are well-made movies. Really? You can't say these are well-made movies? I never understood that argument, but as I said, they're subjective. To you, it's not a well-made movie, but to me, I mean, I can't look at something like Rogue One or The Force Awakens and be like, this isn't a well-made movie. That's an argument I'm not going to get into anymore, because I don't get it. But these are all technically insanely spectacular looking movies, and the production of things are second to none. But it really comes down to if you're engaged in the story. It really comes down to if you're buying into the world that they're selling you. Some people aren't. Some people are too far gone. Some people feel like, this franchise is outstayed its welcome, and some people like me are just pining for more. But I can tell you that the fan base has done a number to this franchise. We'll see if it's for the better in the end. I do think it's a good idea for them to take a hiatus, regroup, really plan out a new series of films, and I think it will help tremendously to start moving away from the known era of Star Wars. Get away from legacy characters. Get away from the original trilogy. Move thousands of years away from this. Have no connections to anything we know at all, and then open it up. Go Old Republic. Go somewhere, where you can just completely be original, new, and there's not going to be any attachment to like, oh, well, that's not how Luke Skywalker would act, because that's how I've thought of it for the last 30 years. And now you're going to try to say he's like this. He's not like that. Like, you're not going to have that to deal with anymore. And you can really just kind of play with your characters and do risky things. And a Last Jedi would work in a new film franchise. But anyways, I I don't know how much I talked about the movie and how much more I talked about the fandom, but I can't help it because it's so a part of the film these days. It really is. You can't talk about this film these days without addressing the fandom. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know how you do online anymore. And so, that all being said, at the end of the day, it's all about what you personally feel. And what I personally feel is that this is a very satisfying trilogy for me. I've really enjoyed everything so far. And kudos to Disney for sticking this. Yes, I have my qualms. Yes, I have my little issues. If I wanted to nitpick and if I wanted to pull things apart, and I could take moments and I could just let that agitate me to the point where I'm like, fuck it all, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. I'm just not going to do that because I enjoy it and I want to enjoy it, and I'm willing to have a new mindset in certain areas where maybe I was really attached to something. Maybe that was something that I really didn't want to happen. But when it does, as long as it's presented in a way that's, that works, I'm okay with it. And I can start to adjust and I can start to enjoy something new. So, I don't know. So, yeah, I am happy though. And this was not... This is an interesting review. I didn't exactly know what I was going to say, of course, as always. Hopefully the comments are... I don't give a fuck. Blast me all you want. They really... I don't know. But anyways, so there you go. There's my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. I probably won't do a spoiler review, but I didn't do one for Solo because of just the shit I got in my Last Jedi one. It's just like, why bother? But I will talk to you guys about the movie in detail. Let me know. Adios.